Welcome back, CSC103, to part 2 of our 7A exercise, cube 3 holes. And we have a red cube so far. What we're going to do is put 3 holes in them using a cylinder. Now, in the older video from last fall, I used a green cylinder and changed the color, and then I did that 3 times. But we're going to make this a little bit easier, hopefully. And if you ever get lost here, or if you ever get messed up with your view, just remember the home view will kind of put you in this view. And if you need to zoom in, you could just use your trackpad to zoom in a little bit, or use your scroll wheel to do that. And also remember that if you're on a trackpad, if I hold control, I could kind of navigate in 3D space like this. I could kind of move around in all directions, look underneath. I could do it very manually instead of using any of those view things. See, I'm moving this cube around over here instead of going in those orthographic views. And I'm doing control. I'm pretty sure that's like that on Windows too, but I'm doing this on a Mac. And if it's not, then just try a couple keys and see what does that on Windows. But I think it might be the control key as well. And if I add shift to it, remember it pans it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to drag a cylinder out. So I'm just going to drag my cylinder onto the page. And we're going to keep this cylinder at 20 high, and we're going to make it 5 wide, which is the X, and then 5 long. Now, you can even use this grid thing. I mean, just to see what you're doing, I could drag this in and take it to like 5, if it'll let me. There it is, that worked. And then this one over here, I could just click here and put in 5. That'll be quicker. And I'll keep it at 20. Now, in terms of the center right now, it's at -8, which from the center, it goes negative this way. So below the center point, below that kind of the origin, it goes in negative amounts, and above it goes in positive amounts. So it's at -8. So I want to put that at 0. So I'm going to put that at 0. And if I view from the left, I'll go over here and just click on front, and I'll click over here. Now it's kind of centered. Now I don't need it in perspective view if I'm viewing from the left. I want it straight on. So it's fine viewing it from the left. Now let's just move over. What does it look like from the back or the front? Let's go from the front. From the front, it's off because I want it over here. Now, you could physically move it over and bring it as close as you can to the center. Now, you can't see the number there, so I'm going to go back and hold down my control key and just kind of move it like that. And you could see 5 is the width of that, but if I go here and I put in 0, that'll put it in the center. Okay, so that's centering it X and Y. So my X and Y is centered, so that should be in the center. How do I know? If I go to the top and I look down, it looks centered. So that looks like it's on the center because my X and my Y is in the center. Now this is at 10. So what does that mean? Well, let me view from the front. Click that there. I want it halfway down. So just like I did with the cube, I'll put this at 5. So it's kind of halfway down. Now if you left it like this, it's okay. But I'm going to kind of center it within the cube. So I'm going to change this to 5. That means its center point is at 5. And that means it's centering that 20 size kind of in the middle of that thing. There's 10 here. There's kind of 10 from the middle of the cube up, and there's 10 from the middle of the cube down. So it's kind of centered. It's at the same center point that the cube is at. That's why they're both centered. So that cylinder is now centered. Now I'm going to go back to my home view and put it in perspective and zoom in. And that's what I want first. Now, in the old video, I grouped it and made a hole. We're not going to make any holes until I do 3 of these. So what I'm going to do is select this cylinder again. That's cylinder 1. And I'm going to use this thing. And it says duplicate and repeat. And I'll just duplicate it. Now, be careful because it's right over top of it. Even though you can't see it, it's right over top of it and it's hard to identify. So what I'm going to do first is rotate it. Now I'm going to rotate it this way. So it's kind of going along the x-axis. So you could grab this thing, I believe, and rotate it down. Although what may be easier, if you view from the front, then you could be sure that you're doing it in the right direction. So I want to rotate it down so it's like a pipe going that way. So it's going along the x-axis. So I'm going to hover right over this thing and put this one at 90. And the more you come out, the more I think it goes in. And if you're too close to the center, it spins around more. But if you come out, it's a little easier to control. So I'll put that at 90. And I'll just leave that alone. And I'll view from the top. And that's what I want. So that's perfect. So I'll go back to my home view and zoom in. And now, at this point, you can rotate this one down, this one that's standing up like a smokestack, you could rotate that down, or I could take this one, duplicate it, and rotate it around this way, and I think that's what I'll do. I'll select this one and duplicate it and rotate it this way, so it goes around and then it's kind of going along the y-axis. So I'm going to select that and make sure I hit this duplicate. And to rotate it around, I could use this, I could try this and try rotating it. And that looks like it's okay. It might be easier if you're viewing from the top to do that. And we could have done that from the top. And you can see if you grab that scroll thing and move out, grab here and then kind of go out, I'm going to scroll it like that. So you can do that. It's a little awkward, but I think I have it right here. And that way I have the 3 cylinders in all directions. Now I'll go back to my home. I'll zoom in. And that's what I want. And if you view from the top, everything should look centered. That's perfect. And if you view from the front, everything should look centered. And that's exactly what I want. So I'll go back to my home view, zoom in again. And what I want to do now is highlight everything. And I just want to group them. And what it'll do is make these kind of hole shapes, these transparent shapes with this gray color. It'll make them be nothing, and it'll make them appear as holes in my cube. So I'm going to click on this now. That's my group. Now it seems weird you're grouping, but it's kind of like the compound path thing that we did in Gravit. So if I group all of those shapes, I have to group the cube and the 3 cylinders. It says 5 shapes. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure where the 5th shape is. I might have made an extra cylinder somewhere along the way here. That's okay. I think I might have duplicated one. I might have 2 together. And that's what's hard about these things here. Actually, let me see. If I grab one here and I just grab it. I must have had 2 along the way, so let me delete that. And I'll highlight these again, and you can see all this kind of stuff will happen. Now I have 4 shapes, so you should have 4. So that's okay. And what I'll do is just group them. And now if I hold my control key and I move around here, you can see it made holes in there. So that's all we want. And again, just making a cube with 3 holes isn't that easy. And you know, I'm teaching you this and I'm still struggling with it because this interface is odd. The way you select things is a little odd. And I don't use this every day. This isn't something I use every day. And when you're done, all that you have to do is really just save it. So if you're done with this, you could just go to here, click on this thing. And this is the one I just made, and I can look at it. And sometimes I just look at these. I don't have to go into your workspace. But once you do that, it does say private. I just want you to know that private doesn't mean that I won't be able to see it. It just means it's not public, but I'll be able to see it in the classroom. So all that you have to do is just go back to here for this exercise for 7a and just go in here and add a comment. Now you don't have to copy any link, anything like that. Just say completed in classroom, and then you could just put what your username is. In case you have some kind of odd username. Some people will use their name and I'll see their name, but if you didn't use your username and it's like some weird email address or something like that, put what your username is just so I can identify you. Because if there's 35 people in one of the classes, I may not know who you are exactly because there'll be all kinds of names in there. So make sure you just say completed in classroom and just put your username so I know I could find you. If it's your name, then don't worry about it. Just or just put your name in it if you use that. But some people use kind of different screen names. So if you're using a screen name like that and I may not know what it is, just put that in. That's all you have to do. No link, no exporting, no nothing. I'll be able to go in and see it. And if you have a problem, if you get stuck, don't worry about it. Just if it's in there, just say, hey, I got it all screwed up. I don't know what happened. And I can go in and look at it. I could go into your classroom and I could look at it. You don't have to share it. You don't have to turn it on, make it viewable or anything like that. I'll just go in and look at it and see what I can do. Sometimes I'll record a video and say, here, just do this or this, whatever you need to do. But that's all you have to do for that exercise. Next, we have a pumpkin coming up and we'll see how that goes. We'll see how you do with this one first before we tackle the pumpkin. I'll check out the older video and see if I need to make a new video for that one. So anyway, that's 7a, cube 3 holes, and that's the end of part 2.